A very good morning to you, my dear viewers, and welcome to the Morning Digest, the show that comes to you every Thursday, and we get to talk about issues pertaining to women, or in the case of the age, we'd also say ladies, even though they are also women. Today we're going to be talking about the systems of education in Kenya, but we are going to be narrowing down to two of them, particularly the 844 system and the AC system. For those that may not know what the AC stands for, it's the Accelerated Christian Education. And right now, I know we are in the era of CBC, but the guest that we are bringing, the guest that's on the show today is not going to be talking about CBC because she's not been through that. So we're going to be looking at the 844 system that we are slowly getting out of and moving to CBC, and then the Accelerated Christian Education. So in the show today, we have Faith Musango and Shirley Juma. Welcome to the show.
Asante sana.
Thank you. Karibuni sana, and we apologize also for the slight delay due to a mishap, but here we are, and we are going to be looking at the two systems of education, and particularly from an experiential perspective, meaning that these two have been through these two systems and they can speak as insiders. And this being a happy Teachers' Day, which was, I think, yesterday, I think I want to give you an opportunity, first of all, introduce yourselves, tell us anything you'd like to tell us about yourselves, and then wish one of the teachers that has made an impact in your life a happy Teachers' Day, even though it's belated with a few hours. So let's begin with you, Faith.
Hello, my name is Faith. I am a student now, pursuing community development in Lista, and I like to say that I have had many teachers impact my life in very many different ways, but my favorite teacher in high school was my chemistry teacher. For one reason or another, he was my best teacher, one, because of humor and how he taught. He made an impact in my life, both inside class and outside. Yeah, because he was also my mentor. How we used to have teachers do academic days for you and check on your progress. Yeah,
your performance.
You
can mention the name so that one day if he's watching, or even today,
Mr.
at least he gets to know that he made an impact in someone's life.
Yeah, Mr. Madeka was my best teacher.
Awesome.
He needs to know that now. I've never said that out loud.
Yeah,
where he can hear. But yeah, he did a very good job.
Nice.
Yeah.
So before we move to Sheila, tell us what you're currently doing as a student. What's your area of what you're pursuing in school?
I'm currently doing community development in Lista University. Yeah.
All right. You'll tell us later what motivated you to study that. So Sheila, tell us a bit about yourself and the teacher that made an impact as you wish them a happy Teachers' Day.
My name is Shirley. Juma.
Shirley, oh my goodness. Shirley.
My name is Shirley Juma. I am also a student, currently finishing. I'm actually cleared at Lista University. I am taking communication, majoring in public relation. My teacher, I actually have two who have impacted my life. One has been my teacher, I think, for the longest time.
All right.
The other one, we can say like she was my primary teacher, and the other one is my high school teacher. So my primary teacher, Missy Tuka, she was truly amazing. I think to this day, I think we'll talk once in a while. She has really impacted my life from such a young age, because when I joined ACE, as we'll talk about later, she was my first teacher. And I went with her throughout my whole primary. And then coming into high school, it is Mr. Onchana. Mr. Onchana actually still helps me at Lista. I took a class, and I'd call him and I'm like, I don't know how to do this equation. And he will send me quickly, help me out how to do the equation. Yeah. So yes, those two are truly some of my favorite teachers.
Wow, great. And of course, I don't want us to talk about the negative side, but as we celebrate, it's belated kidogo, but we do appreciate all teachers and the role they play. And I read somewhere yesterday that if there were no teachers, none of the professions we know today in a way would exist. Reason being, we all get to learn. And when we talk about teachers, we're not just talking about those that have been through teacher training colleges. There are other teachers that teach, and so teachers are definitely great people in this world. But today we are not talking about teachers. We are talking about the different systems of education through which you went. And Faith, you went through the 844 system of education.
Always.
Yes. In a nutshell, would you tell us what your experience has been before we break this down? because most people in Kenya have been through the 844 system of education. They have different stories to tell. So what would you say is your story regarding the 844 system? And you can be as honest as you can be without mentioning names of people.
Well, my experience with 844 has been, well, I honestly can't even describe it because it's been one trauma, sometimes just joy. I love to study and learn new things, and so it's not been as bad, except for the fact that for some of the classes I used to feel like it's limiting me because I have to go by the textbook definition of things.
All right.
Even when I wanted to explore and like think, but why did they think like this and they didn't think like this? And then we'd have chaos with the teachers because they want the textbook definition of how they taught things.
Okay.
But I have seen a different way of doing it. And yeah, that would be my setback on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's something you said, and that's a very strong word, trauma. You know, trauma is really, so I think you need to break that down. What exactly do you mean?
No, trauma was just me basically growing up and not understanding issues the way the teachers would see things, and then wondering why they were so mean because 844 has kupigwa.
Yeah.
Like violence, beatings every single day. And then I used to always find myself in mistakes. I'm those people who really try my best to be nice and to do the right thing, but it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Yeah, so I used to struggle.
Before we move to Sheila, I mean Shirley, forgive me for confusing these two names, but they are so close to each other. When you said they would insist on the dictionary definition, or what I taught you is what I expected to give me back, what level are we talking about? Are we talking of high school or primary?
I'm talking of a bit of, in primary, when I was still starting, like in class 1 to class 6 there would be what the teacher said is true.
Oh, yeah.
And then so now I started to actually read and start thinking outside the box. And then now it started being an issue.
Okay.
Yeah, and mostly high school also.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you for telling us that. But when you said violence, I was like, God have mercy. It's a bit on the higher side, but I'm sure you have your reason for using those words. So, Shirley, what's your general overview of the AC system, having come from all the way and you're about to graduate?
For me, the C system was a learning process. It really taught me a lot because AC is all about self-learning, self-growth. So how fast you finish school, how much you do your work, the amount of work you do every day is set and dependent on you as a person. So it really teaches you to be responsible and to really take charge of your own education. Like there's no one else who will do it for you. It's only you. And at the pace and the time you will take is totally just up to you. So it really for me, it really taught me just to be very in charge and very responsible of the work that I do.
All right.
So yeah, for me it was an amazing learning process.
Some people have faulted it to be too, what can I say, like spoon feeding of some sort.
Yeah.
But when you come to the inside, you discover maybe it's not that. What would you say about that?
I wouldn't say it's spoon feeding. From my perspective and how I went through it, and also with the people I went through it, there were times you would have challenges as well, considering it's a different curriculum. So even what we learn, it's not what 844 learns.
Yeah.
It's something totally different.
Yeah.
Though it might be the same subject, but the areas they focus on is totally different.
Yeah.
So having to learn that is a challenge on its own.
Yeah.
And also the fact that you're learning that by yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a teacher who will come and help you once in a while. If you need help, you can call on them, they'll come and assist you. But a lot of the times, I don't think you can say it's spoon-fed.
You have to be very self-driven.
Yes, you have to be very self-driven, very self-motivated, and you have to come to a place with a CE, you have to come to a place to understand you're in charge of your own education. It's not your supervisor, it's not your parents, it's you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, when you refer to supervisor in the 844 system, that would be the teacher.
Yes, the teacher.
Okay, now let's talk about your experience, and if you can remember these details, you can let us know. In terms of class sizes, the classes, the school you went to, especially in primary school, what was the largest, or rather, what was the average number of students you had in one class?
The school I went to was a tiny school.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one, I went to 2 schools.
Yeah.
There was one which had like 12 students,
Mm-hmm.
and there was another one that had like 27 students at most. So I basically had an amazing primary school life in terms of teachers, like attention.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was that for my specific experience, the school I went to first, the teachers used to come and go. We used to have a change in teachers every single term. Maybe that teacher was a Form 4 leaver, and they have come. They need stuff to do, so they've spent just one term there, and then they go. So I didn't get attached to many teachers at that time.
Right.
But then it was more hands-on.
Yeah.
So it was easy to learn there.
Okay.
Very few
I think your
students.
experience, you seem to have gone to a relatively good school in terms of the size of the class, because I know there's classes today, especially public schools, where you have 50 to 60 students, one teacher. So you're like, first of all, there's no personalized attention. By the time the teacher gets to child number 35, assuming they'll even get to 35, the lesson is over. So basically, there are students that may never really get to have a one-on-one with the teacher. And that, I think, is one of the disadvantages of the 844 system, which we cannot ignore. So in your case, Shirley, what would you say in terms of the class sizes, which again I know may not affect how you relate to the teacher, because you talked about the independence, but on average, how many would you be in a class?
The class structure with ACE, there's no like you're all in class 7, so every pupil in that class is in class 7.
Yes.
No, it was very diverse. You can share a class with someone who is, let's say, okay, now we use grades, as CBC right now is also doing grades, but first we did grades. That's the whole ACE. So I can say you can have someone in grade 10 with someone who's in grade 8 in the same classroom.
Wow.
So in that case, you'd find, I think for me the largest I have been in is a class of 20. But normally it doesn't exist. It doesn't go beyond that number. It can even be to as less as 10 in one class.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And of course, we know not everybody may be able to send their child there for dynamics that we will not discuss today. But I have a slight understanding about the AC system. And I know there's this thing you call the office, which is non-existent in the 844 system. And when you need the attention of the teacher, you raise a flag. You don't raise your hand. So let's assume there's this child that apparently is just in school because their parents send them to school. They're having challenges, but they'll never raise a flag to say that they're doing okay. So how will the teacher get to know that there's a problem?
I'll speak on personal experience.
Yes.
They will know based on your test results. That really indicates and shows how the student is doing. So if your test results are very inconsistent, or if they find, oh, you did well in this one you're not, and also, okay, this is going way ahead.
Yes,
but,
no problem.
I'm sure we'll come back to it.
No problem.
In AC, we do paces.
Yes.
So like in 844, you'll do textbooks. So in AC, we'll do paces, and your paces does not exist more than 60 pages. I think the highest is 60 pages.
All right.
And you'll get that pace. So in a grade, there are 12 of them in every subject. So for that one pace, there are self-tests in between. So there are 3 plus a final test at the end.
What we'd call a quiz.
Yes, a quiz. So there are 3 quizzes inside that pace, plus a final one at the end of the pace, and another final one after, like when the pace is now removed from you.
Okay.
So during those tests, they'll quiz you based on sections. So the pace is divided into 3 sections, and the quiz will quiz you on what you've learned per section.
Okay.
So that also will indicate whether you're having problems or not, because the quiz will be checked by your supervisor, by your teacher. So if they come and check and they find your first quiz you did very well,
Yeah.
your second quiz you repeated it maybe twice or thrice, your final quiz you are just there in the middle,
Yeah.
your self-test, which it's called the self-test, it is the final test.
Yeah.
Now that one, let's say you did maybe 50%,
Yeah.
and then now the pace test, which is not the final test completely, you get like a 90. It's very inconsistent, so they'll start knowing you had
There's a
issues here.
problem.
Yeah, and then now they'll have to come and talk to you about it, and then
Okay.
you have a one-on-one and they figure out the problem.
All right. That may sound like a lot of Greek to somebody that has not been through that system, but I want to ask Faith. Let's talk about the quizzes and the exams that we do at the end of the term. And you find like sometimes you don't perform well because you're not strong in a particular area of that subject, but it's not that you're not sharp. You are, you're bright. But the way the exams are formatted, like you said at the end of the day, the teacher needs a particular answer. So what was the challenge for you, especially having to deal with, and you're almost done with school now, so when we look back, what was the challenge of you trying to deal with, your creativity is somehow stifled, that's what I heard you say. Yes, like, let me rephrase it this way. There are questions that if they were brought, you'd pass very well because you're passionate about that area. The same subject picked from a different section, you fail. So what has been your challenge, especially looking back regarding that?
First of all, accept panic, because I honestly don't like exams.
Yeah. I'm not sure how many like exams.
Would be, I think, just on that, on the matter of, okay, most people, I think during exam period, that's the time people start reading.
Yeah.
You know, like I've heard about your system, you actually study and it's your progress is on you. For us, all of us are going to proceed. So basically, when it's exam week, that's when, like for my high school, you'd see people read. Like, that way you meet people reading, carrying books all around the school. And I'm personally not the kind of person who panic reads. I need to like understand something and like internalize it and have it in my system.
Yeah.
Before, so now that one wasn't working for me. So
Yeah.
I think it's just because I didn't read during the semester because there's no motivation. No one else is reading.
Yeah.
Like everyone else is just making noise, and then I'm a noise maker. So we will have fun during the term, and then the people who can read at that time, them they read, and then may just look at them because I can't. It's not working.
So how did you prepare yourself for final exams?
How I prepared myself for final exams. I actually read when people were still in school.
Progressively.
Yeah, I read progressively. And then now when we were doing the final exams, I knew I was like almost ready. So now I was just reminding myself, but I had read and understood.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. You know, I'll bring another perspective to our discussion that may not sound very academic, but definitely it affects our academic. And I'll begin with you, Faith. Let's talk about the aesthetics in terms of the cleanliness of the, you know, especially, you went to a public school, right? In both cases, high school and primary?
No, just high school.
Oh, high school, primary, let's leave that out. So let's talk about the aesthetics in terms of the cleanliness of the bathrooms, because there are hundreds of you in one school, and usually many times people may not imagine, but the environment also affects a lot. What would you say about the aesthetics without, you know, going into too much details?
I think we tried, like we honestly tried, because we were cleaning for ourselves.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
The 844 system, you guys wake up, you do duties.
Yeah.
No, you wake up for preps for my school, preps, and then you go do your duties. You clean everywhere in the school.
Yeah.
The only thing staff are going to do.
And that's after showering in the morning, and you're all neat with your socks.
Yes.
White socks, probably.
Yes, white socks.
Wow.
Yeah, like we used to wake up at 4 a.m. You need to be in class, having already done the showering and all that.
So looking at you like, what?
When it gets to 5:20, you guys go for breakfast. By 5:40, you should be done taking breakfast and all that, and then you go do your duties. By 6:20 you need to go back to class for the first remedial class. So basically we were cleaning for ourselves. So now your cleanliness is on you, and we used to use pit latrines, not these flashing ones.
Okay.
So yeah.
So at least that, and again, I think it's instilled a level of discipline and a work ethic in you. But now let's hear Shirley's side. Would you trade your experience in AC with Faith's experience?
No.
Not really.
Oh no.
Wow.
Waking up at 4.
The issue is not even waking.
Before you're in class.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
So that means you woke up at 3:30.
Yeah, and bathed and dressed up.
And so what time will you go to bed that evening?
10 p.m. And then the people who sleep late, like me, like my mind is more active at night. So like at 11 is very early for me.
So basically you sleep like 3 hours at most, or 4?
Yeah.
Wow. So Shirley, let's talk about the aesthetics in the schools you went to.
The aesthetics, the place, they kept it had to be a very peaceful environment. So there was always a lot of space. The place was very clean. It was very well kept. But they would, I think in terms of trying to make us responsible, they would have student leaders. And everyone would be put, even individually, as you mentioned earlier, in terms of offices, your own space, your own office, you had to maintain it to a certain level. And they'd actually check it. If it's not up to a certain level, then of course you'd be punished for it. If it's up to a certain level, then you'd be given a reward. So that's how they try to keep us accountable according to their side.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. And of course the cleaning bit, definitely it had to be on the school.
Yeah, it was on the school, except on Fridays.
Yeah.
The school I went to, what we do, Fridays was normally the shortest day because we will do class until lunch. After lunch, we go for sports. So they would make sure that we work, we go for lunch. Before we go for sports after lunch, we'd come back because that's when we'll pack for the weekend. So you'll close your office and then you'll have to clean the classroom, leave everything set, then I'll go for sports.
All right.
And then after that, we just come, pick your bags, go home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, it's interesting sharing the differences in these two systems. And personally, I must mention, having gone through the 844 system, it doesn't come as a shock to me, but I did experience a bit of culture shock, having gone to a smaller primary school, and then I was thrown into this big school where the one stream had over 200 students. One stream. The school had like 1,000, maybe 1,000 or 800 thereabout. So it was like being thrown into the deep when you don't know how to swim. And clearly it was a culture shock for me. But I must say that sometimes there's a way that the public system of education, and when I say 844, I'm not just talking of 844 private. For you, you went to public, so we lean more on the public. It's sort of, let me just say, it teaches you a military way of surviving.
True.
In a way.
True.
Not very interesting, but later on in life, you appreciate those skills. But memory lane, you wouldn't want to go back.
Before I did ACE, my very early school years was 844.
Yeah.
So the memories I have of back then, the memory was very,
it's not justified, but we need to go on break. I'm not saying that military style is really justified, but it has its place in people's lives if you couldn't afford to go to a public school. But because of time, we'll go on break. Viewers, if you're watching, please send your questions or your comments. We have one guest who's been through the 844 system, and the other one has been through the AC system, Accelerated Christian Education. So we'll be back after the break.
Young people want names, titles, papers, like diplomas. I want a degree, money to do this, money to do this. Let me tell you, we need to stop and start.
Bishop Henry Molandi.
Ushuhuda ya leo, mimi sijui iko na nini.
Haileti watu.
Haileti.
Watu hawalii.
Kwa sababu wengi anasema hii akiwa na aim hii yake si ya watu waokoke.
Without a title.
Now, when you talk about title, that is one thing we feared and avoided and hated.
At what point can you say that there was a major breakout?
I would long for a touch of God after preaching for days and I would go out for some days to pray and fast on my own.
Welcome back to the Morning Digest, and today we have a very interesting topic. If you've not been through the 844 system, you'll have a feel of what it feels like to be in that system. If you didn't know about the AC system, then today we have a guest who is telling us about the accelerated Christian education. Welcome back to the show, Faith and Shirley. And let's talk about your experience in school. Do you feel it has prepared you to face life outside, school? Your system, what you've been through?
Yeah, I would say it really has. So for ACE, they have a standard morning routine. So you'd come in the morning, you check your homework. That's the first thing you do. After you check your homework, then we would prepare for something called goal check. So every ACE student is given a card with the days of the week and time-wise. And then you would write what you want to accomplish that day.
All right.
So per subject, so you'll say, like, let's say math, I want to do page 1 to 10. English, page this to this. And you'll set for all your subjects. And then you'd set up your books. And then your teacher would come and check your goals for the day. You'll say, okay, so you want to do this, that's fine. Just to make sure everything is okay. And then now it is up to you that by the end of the day, the school day, you have finished that work. What you haven't finished, you carry home for homework. You come check it in the next morning.
Okay.
So that has really prepared me in terms of even with now coming into university, which was a huge culture shock for me, by the way.
Yeah.
But coming there, I would come being prepared.
Why was it a culture shock? Let me even interject kidogo.
In the sense that, okay, before coming to Daystar for my undergraduate, I homeschooled for 2 years. Throughout my high school, I homeschooled. So, and also now coming into a CE, having the whole self-taught, being independent on your studies, being in charge of your studies, being in control. I think that was the word I would use, being in control of your studies.
Yeah.
And then coming into Daystar, and you find, like she said, you're all moving together.
Yes.
So there's the whole concept of having a teacher in front of the class with the whiteboard or the projector and teaching a whole group of people. For me, that was so foreign.
Ooh.
And I really struggled my first year at Daystar.
Wow.
It even affected my GPA. I think I got my lowest GPAs in my first 2 semesters. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was just a whole culture shock. I'm like, just give me what I need to do.
Yeah.
Let me work on it on my own.
All right.
I would come and do the final exam and I'll be fine.
Okay.
But so that whole area was
very
foreign
to you.
Yeah.
And I probably, this brings up something else before Faith talks. It almost feels like an antisocial aspect had been cultured in you without your knowledge. I said it almost feels like.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I'd actually say when COVID hit and we moved to online studies,
Yeah.
a part of me was like, yes.
Oh my goodness.
Because now this is my environment.
Yeah.
This is now where I thrive.
Where you thrive.
In terms of also school, because then if it is online, it's not every day you'll have Zoom classes.
Oh, definitely.
Lecturers sometimes will send you work, like read this and then do 1, 2, 3,
or
4,
go
5.
to the field, do this, depending on what you need.
Depending on the unit you're
Yeah.
doing. So for me, I was like, thank you,
Yes.
Jesus.
Yes.
This is it.
Wow.
Because the teacher would send notes and I would plan my week knowing Monday I'll do this,
Yeah.
Tuesday I'll do this. I have a cut on Wednesday so I can prepare for that cut.
Wow.
For me, it was just my zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Faith is almost traumatized now that you talked about trauma at the beginning. So for you, what would you say? She's totally, clearly coming from a very, very different world in terms of her experience. What about you in terms of how this system has prepared you? And especially if you can pick from what she has said. For her, this whole PowerPoint, being in a class, let's move together, didn't work for her. What about you?
Personally, I love being in class and having a teacher teach, and especially seeing them illustrate things on the board. I usually remember things based on examples we gave in class, or things that happened, like that interaction is where I thrive. So yeah, COVID. we are total polar opposites.
Yeah.
Because COVID did the thing for me, because me, I didn't understand why we're just sitting in one place. You're just piling up assignments for me. Why? Like, it was.
You want to be among a group of people. Let's talk about this.
Let's interact. Let's do this together. Let's do life together. Let's learn. Let's give examples that are life based.
Yeah.
That has been for me.
So, preparation for life, that particular one. How has 844 prepared you for life? Someone said before you answer, education is what you're left with after the books are taken away. So how do you feel 844 has impacted you in terms of preparing for real life?
Well, now if I think, I'll have to think about it, but I think because someone said that just because we turned out fine does not mean it was fair.
Oh,
Feeling
that's a strong statement.
because part of it, but most of 844 was punitive measures, and instead of positive reinforcement, it was negative. Like, if you don't, we will beat you. There was like reward was just on grades.
I don't blame you. Believe you me, I don't.
Rewards are based on grades, but at least I got. There was also the extracurricular activities, co-curricular activities like drama and music and all these things. So at least, even though some of the teachers didn't support this and used to think that we are wasting time by doing that, like you'd still find your niche outside class. And I think I thrived more in extracurricular activities, and also studies. I love to learn and to get new experiences, so it was all fun for me. Inside class, but then exams.
No, most students don't love exams. And you know, that helps me remember something. Shirley, what did you think of group work? Because it's in group work that, let me not answer the question. Let me hear what you have to say.
Group work, it was quite some work for me. In terms of...
Again, it was, eh?
It was.
Okay.
Because, first of all, there's a whole aspect of my own personality.
Right.
And then now there's a group, and you have to work together.
Yes.
So you'd find there's always that one person who wants to contribute to everything.
Yes.
There's that one person who wants to just ride on what everyone else is doing and just appear at the end.
Yes.
So dealing with all those people. But for me, I was more of like, I think there was even certain group works where I think I reached a point I was like, you know what, you guys, let me just do everything at this point. Because for me, that is comfortable. That is just it for me. But then also you have to come to understand the whole point of group work is not for you to do everything by yourself. It's to delegate. So
and develop interpersonal. You know.
So you'd find even in those settings, I would end up being the group leader. Because then, in some way, I'll be almost like in control of what is happening. So I'll also end up being in control of what my own work. So I'd end up just finding myself, people are like, oh, no one is taking charge, first of all. Unless the lecturer appoints an actual group leader, everything is just left in the air. So you even like form a WhatsApp group and no one is talking.
Wow.
No one is even bothered with the assignment. People are remembering about the assignment the night before. I've been in groups where we have actually done the group work the night we are supposed. Not even that. The morning. There's a class I did.
Wow.
We ended up doing the group work the morning we were presenting the work.
And you
so
passed? Because I thought there's always, you're able to tell work that was rushed when you're marking it?
We rushed. Everyone was like, we divided that work so quick at 7. I remember it was 1 hour. We did that work in 1 hour.
Wow.
Because we had to present it at 8. We were the first group.
That was, first of all, a show of poor management skills.
So actually, after that, now someone were like, you guys, someone needs to step up. Because we can't keep doing this. It can't become a habit with all our group work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, what about you? Group work. How did it help you? Because some of the things we practice in school is actually what helps us later on in life.
Yeah, I believe that. But I think also 844 didn't do much to help with group work. Because most of the people you'll meet there are 844 people, and they're going to stress you up. So I also end up taking
the responsibility.
Yeah, roles of taking initiative and being there, like, excuse me, guys, we need to divide this work and we need to do it. Because if you don't, I have also done group work on the morning.
Wow.
The assignment.
But I dare say, many times how someone behaves in the school setting, like someone shows up the last minute, someone doesn't give their part, others will say, you might as well, like that kind of an attitude. If they don't change, many times it spills over to the working world.
Yeah.
If you find someone that takes the role and says, we cannot fail, I'll take charge of this, many times the same will spill over in real life. And definitely it helps to be part of the team. And I'm sure you appreciate now what you had to go through.
Yeah.
The fact that you now moved to this other system, which is not, because university is more freelance in terms of whether you came from 844 or GC or, AC. At the end of the day, university sort of prepares you now to meet the world. So I was thinking of the countries that have been rated best in terms of education, the education system, many things about their education. And as I look at those countries, I'm like, none of those countries is African. And it's really, really sad. Yet, we have a lot of sharp brains in Africa. But then again, I also discovered that if you look at those countries and their GDP, it's almost like for every citizen on a daily basis, there is enough supply for them. When you come back to Africa, not just supply, there are places where kids don't even go to school. They don't go to school. So what is the problem with Africa? Because I know you're not educationists in the sense of, my career is to help make education better. What's your take on Africa as a continent and the fact that we never get to a particular level despite how God has blessed us? Faith.
I think most of the time we have majored on learning what other people have given us instead of also creating research opportunities where we actually research on the problems that are in the world.
Yeah.
I had Desta has started bringing a system that is problem based where we solve problems that are in the society.
Yes.
Which I really think is a good idea because I think it's because we have closed on innovation and have centered on just learning what other people in the past have been studying. If we study always about Albert Einstein, and we have a Kenyan, we have a Kenyan who came up with something really brilliant.
M-Pesa, for example.
Yes, and we don't even study about M-Pesa here in Kenya. It's very important to understand that we also, no one was born. My business teacher used to say tabula rasa, like you aren't born blank.
Yeah.
You have content in you.
Yes.
If we had a system that would help us to just get out what is in us, because God has given us so much, I believe even if we don't use the systems that are in Europe or those places, we have so much in us because we are solving problems. We are not just studying chemistry because chemistry is there to be studied and people thought chemistry is a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you. That's really a loaded answer, if I may say that. Nobody was born empty. Shirley.
Recently, I watched a class.
Yeah.
There's a specific university, I won't mention it.
Yeah.
But there's a university that shared a class, one of their classes that they partake in, and it was problem-based, and they were talking about, I think it was a business class, and they were talking about how they could solve a certain problem. When I was watching it, it was so interactive, and I was like, why don't we have this in any of the universities in Kenya?
Wow.
The lecturer had created such an environment. Actually, she was a professor. She created such an environment where everyone was so free, everyone was so open. As in, I've never seen those people so willing to learn.
Wow.
And I was like, how comes we've never experienced that?
This.
Yeah, here in Kenya, you'd never find someone in university being like, today's class, let's go. This is amazing. Everyone's like, Oh, well.
Not again.
Here we go. It's Monday. Let's go. You know? So I guess I would say also with the point she has made, the fact that we just learn what other people have learned.
Yeah.
So considering,
We need to-
in terms of like colonization with
Yeah,
the English,
yeah.
with the British when they came here,
Yeah.
what they taught us is what we are still learning to this very
Till
day.
today.
Yeah, we have not yet taken full advantage of the Kenyan heritage.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think Kenya doesn't really have a culture per se,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we have never even really learned.
Understood what's our
Yeah, we have
culture.
never understood it.
Yeah.
We have never been taught it.
Yeah.
We are all taught of Queen Elizabeth and
Yeah,
who she
yeah,
is,
yeah.
America and what they do.
Yeah.
But there's no really firm Kenyan history.
Yeah.
So you'd find many people, especially now in our generation, we're just really up in there in terms of culture and all that.
So we should go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, in whatever we do on a daily basis, are we going back to the roots?
Yeah.
As we wind up, there's a university in Nigeria. I don't know the name of the university, but I know it's media related. And for you to graduate, if you're doing film production, you get your degree by producing a movie from the beginning to the end. Yes, you can work with a team, whichever way it goes, because you cannot plagiarize, because it means that movie has never been seen anywhere. Make all the mistakes you want, but at least do a movie before you graduate with a degree in film production.
That is
So I
amazing.
think we need to go back to those points of practicality,
Yeah.
creativity, and innovation. I think that's what I hear you all saying. And so because of time, we really have to wind up, but I'll give each of you 30 seconds to just give your parting shot as we bring this to a close. Let's begin with Faith. 30 seconds.
My parting shot is that learning is very important. Learning in all forms, whether you're in school or not.
Yeah.
But it's just on the motivation on your part as a student to learn, because teachers are giving their all, and even with their personality weaknesses, those of us in 844 who have gone through trauma,
Yeah.
they really want to do their best to impact your life. So,
Wow.
yeah, we appreciate you teachers. Man.
Thank you, Faith. Shirley, 30 seconds.
I would say that from when you start comparing with this conversation, many people will start thinking that AC is very relaxed,
Glamorous.
very glamorous, very chill. No, it also has its own
Yeah.
challenges. And just as she said, yes, learning is very important, regardless of what system you took, whether it was British, whether it's American, ACE, or even 844.
Yeah.
So just what you can get out of it,
Yeah.
make the most out of it.
Make the most.
Make the most out of it.
Thank you so much. Time does not allow us. I believe you've learned a lot. I've enjoyed the show so much today. And until next time, may the Lord bless you when we meet again in the Morning Digest.